What's up, everybody? Andrew Herbert here. I just finished a squat workout, and I want to talk about 3 common mistakes that people make when they're squatting. Really, 3 important things to focus on, especially if you're just getting into squatting. All right. So I love the squat. I think it's a great lift. Some people call it the king of the lifts. Set a couple world records in the lift, so it's awesome. I think it applies to pretty much every sport. Even if you don't play sports, it's great for life. You know, you just have to stand up, which is what the squat is. So, all right. So the first thing, it's a very fundamental principle, but it's breathing and bracing. So in all lifts, it's important to be cognizant of the way we breathe and the way we brace our core. There's no other lift where it's as important as the squat, because there's a weight on our back. It's usually relatively a lot of weight. I can't think of another lift with weight on our back that we can do more than a squat. Okay, so it's the most weight on our back out of any lift we can do. So when we're breathing, you know, most people naturally chest breathe. They breathe into their chest. What you really want to do is belly breathe, which is a diaphragmatic breath, where you're breathing into your belly as deep as you can, expanding your belly, and then holding it so that it creates kind of a rigid barrel type effect, and that stabilizes your whole midsection, especially your lumbar spine. So I think of it like a balloon. You know, like a balloon without air is just floppy piece of rubber. When you fill it with air all the way, it's tight and it's rigid. You want your torso to be that way when you're squatting. So when I unrack the weight, I'll take a deep breath into my abdomen. And if you watch some of my squat videos, you can actually see my stomach expanding. Wearing a belt, it'll expand into the belt, which is a good thing. You want that intra-abdominal pressure, IAB as they call it. But without a belt too, it's a very important thing to do. Breathe deep in your belly, hold it, descend, keep that tight. If you lose your air, you lose your brace, not good. And then you come up. Once you're up, then you can reset your breath and keep doing that depending on how many repetitions you're looking to do. So that's the big thing, breathing and bracing. The next mistake or thing to be aware of is pitching forward on your toes. A lot of people have that problem when they're squatting, and you can see it all the time in the gym, especially if you look from the side. You'll see, especially as people come down there, you'll see their heel come up a little bit. Now, ankle mobility is a factor there, you know, which is the degree to which you can engage in what's called dorsiflexion. So, you know, working on that is good. I always stretch my calves, I roll out my ankles, foam roll, whatnot, loosen things up as much as possible. But still, you know, some people are gonna have less flexible calves than others. And so a big mental cue to think about is keeping your entire back rigid under the weight, because what's gonna pitch you forward is if your back doesn't hold the weight, and your back comes forward, and that's gonna make you come onto your toes. So you wanna focus on pushing through your midfoot. Okay, some people talk about pushing off your heels. I think the midfoot is really more important. And you can even think about 3 points of contact, basically like your big toe, pinky toe, and heel, sort of like a triangle. But really it comes down to the middle of the foot, pushing into the ground. And then keeping your back, especially your mid and upper back, which is what's holding the bar, stable. Like what I like to think about is imagining that there's a boulder on my back. And that kind of, it helps because, you know, the bar is just a small piece of metal as far as surface area, but if you think about a boulder, it's like covering your entire back. You know, in my mind, it makes me activate my entire back against this, you know, imaginary boulder to keep it stable as I hit the bottom and come out. And it just helps me from not going forward. Third thing is check your ego out the door and not go too heavy. You know, so the squat utilizes, you know, your hips, your legs, some of the biggest muscles in your body. So you're able to move a lot of weight that way. But if you want to progress, avoid injury, and really perfect your technique, you can't just go heavy right out the gate. So, you know, a saying that I love in all things, and especially this, is your ego is not your amigo. So, you know, start out really light and work on your full range of motion. You're going as deep as you can, which will depend from person to person. Some people can go ass to grass, some can't. It's always good to work on going as deep as possible, but it's also important not to have you know, to think that you have to go as deep as, say, some of these Olympic weightlifters go. So a lot of people are not built that way. Your anatomy, the depth of your hip socket, your femur length, those things which are not changeable have a huge impact on how deep you can squat. So go as deep as you can while maintaining a neutral spine, i.e. straight spine and good technique. And so that requires keeping the weight low enough to do that, to get a good amount of repetitions in, and to slowly build from there. All right, so there you go. There's the three things: breathing and bracing, making sure you don't get pitched forward on your toes, you're pushing off your midfoot, and not going too heavy, slowly progressing the weight, having a long-term plan instead of kind of short-term goals. It's a marathon, not a sprint. All right, give those things a try. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I squatted and we're having a heat wave in California. So enjoy. All right.